Hi, I'm Alli Mudford and I'm from IRCF. I am the Program Manager with the Investing in Rural Community Futures program. I've been on the road for 2 weeks and met some fabulous communities. Thank you so much for coming to the road shows. And now we're going to get into how to fill in this grant application and get you started with some tips and some tools on how to get going. The Investing in Rural Community Futures program has got guidelines which are accompanying the grant application form. It really goes through exactly what our priorities are and what meets our criteria for investment. As you already know, it's a bit different, this program. We're really talking about the groups and the organisations themselves and strengthening them and their core services. So we're not about the thing, the roof on the shed, the garden, the service you provide. We're really about strengthening those core inner strengths of that organisation. So it's a little bit different. When you look at the guidelines, I really want you to look at our priorities. So where your program fits in building organisational capacity and looking at the priorities of strategy, people, infrastructure and systems, and effectiveness, and linking that back to your program outcomes. If you're collaborating, making sure you're really clear with who's doing what in your program. Is there one lead, or is different groups and organisations just doing different parts of your program? Make sure that's really clear in your application. And then make sure we know who's in your tent, who's in your program. And we really would like you to either have letters of support or list them and their contacts really clearly so we can see who's doing what in your community and what their priorities and needs are. So the application form is via our grants gateway online at the IRCF website. I think the best way to tackle the grant is to get a lot of the information for your group or organisation, or multiple groups and organisations as the case might be, before you start. So the initial section of the grant is all about your organisation, your ABN, your incorporation, what your legal name is, who are your key contacts, so who's your contact for the grant, but then who's your executive. So all those key kind of organisational bits of information we really need up front, and then we move into what the project is all about. So what you'll need in the project application form is your project title, which should really reflect what you're going to do in your program. It then moves into an activity tree, which really is about what your program is going to do or provide. And there's a whole list of activities in that activity tree that you can select from. And so we want to know which one closely aligns to your program. So that's just a tick box. So with the question that asks you what you will do, this question is all about relating your project back to our priorities. So looking at those 4 key priorities for the Investing in Rural Community program: people, strategy, infrastructure and systems, effectiveness. What are you going to do in your project, and how is that going to address our priorities? And that's what we're really looking for in that response. The guidelines are linked there, so you can quickly go and have a look if you're unsure, and there's some diagrams there of the types of things we're talking about when we are talking about those 4 key priority areas. So that program is really about demonstrating the program's value in terms of our investment. So that needs to be really clear as to how it links with our guidelines. Then you move down into what your program need is. So we want to know why this is a priority in your area. Obviously, we've heard over the last couple of weeks there's multiple priorities, but what is your community saying and what do they need? If there's multiple organisations, probably a good place to put some of that information is to what the collaboration is, what the community need is, and then how that project fits with that. So be really clear with what your program is addressing. As per the Investing in Rural Community Futures program guidelines, you've got 15 months to complete your programs. So in this box around when will it happen, we just want to know the timing around what bits of your project will happen when. Obviously things can change, but what is your plan at this stage in terms of delivery? So that is really about what this question is about. So the next question is around where your program is located. So if you have got a project that's just working in the town, we just want you to pop that in and then pop the postcode in. But if you have a greater reach with your program and there's more people that you're supporting through it in outlying villages or towns, we want you to pop those towns in as well and pop their postcodes. And that just lets us track sort of where the support is getting to in your community. So that is the where question. And then the next question is around your community. So we have obviously got a whole heap of data. We've come out to talk to you in the roadshows, but this question is really about profiling your community or your chance to tell us some of the strengths and some of the things that are happening in your town. And that really gives us a good sense of how this program kind of fits to support that as a greater thing. So if you would like to put some detailed information in this next question on just your community and who's in it, what it's doing, that will provide us and the assessment panel a really good indication on what's going on. So the next question is around who will be involved in your program. And as we've stressed, collaboration is key in terms of we don't want 5 applications from 5 different organisations all asking for the same thing. When some efficiencies can be made and people can be talking and maybe someone could lead it, or it's just one application that supports those 5 groups to do training, to do some succession planning, to do a strategic plan, whatever it is that you have identified as that key challenge that you want to overcome with this program. We want to know who's in the tent with you. So this collaboration question is all around just telling us who's involved, what that looks like for you in terms of their level of involvement, and then I guess who is taking carriage of that, of the program. So who's leading it. So that's really what we're looking for there, and that's just to give the assessment panel a really good indication of, I guess, who's being supported by this program. So the next question's around describing the program outcomes. So what you expect to see as a result of this project. So if it is actually a physical thing, if you're actually going to have a strategy or you're going to have some training, what is the impact that strategy or training will have on your group or on your organisation or as your community, I guess, as a whole, depending on what the focus of your grant. But really, this is about the impact piece. So this is about telling us what will come out of this project, what will be that's lasting legacy. So this program is all about building organisational capacity, about that sustainability, about that resilience of your organisation. So what is this money that we're going to invest in you going to achieve? And that question is really key, I think, to your whole grant application. It's really telling us about what's the change you want to see. So how are we going to shift this dynamic from surviving to thriving? And this key piece, when we roll it all up together and look at all the grant applications for the entirety of the program, will tell us that. So that's what you need to fill in there. So the budget section of your grant application form is pretty straightforward. We really want to know how much you need from us, what things will cost. So where you can, get a quote. We've talked a lot about using local providers and trying to look within your community at who's doing what or who has what skills and expertise that can help you deliver your program. That's where we want you to start. We also don't have a matching contribution required from you as part of this grant, but if you are doing something similar or you've got in-kind contribution that your group, so all that time and effort it takes to deliver things or to put applications together and get everything happening, we want to know how much time that's taking. And that's in the budget section. It's costed at $41 an hour. You'll see that in there, and you'll just put what your committee members or your volunteers are contributing to the program. And then at the end, it'll balance in terms of how much you need from us, what your volunteer hours are, if you have a cash contribution from your group, which isn't required, but if you do, then that will all come out in the totals section. There's also a question in there asking about your financial viability as a group. So it says to upload your last profit and loss statement. So if you've got that kind of information when you're sitting down and doing the budget section, then that will really make that area a lot easier for you to complete. So with the grant application form, if you have any questions or if you need just a sounding board to sound out an idea, talk through points of clarification in the guidelines, or just to really talk through your program and your project ideas, give me a ring or send me an email and we will be there to support you through it. This is not a scary grants process. It's all about trying to get the best possible outcomes for your community and for the Investing in Rural Community Futures program. So it's a team effort, it's a team approach, and we look forward to working with you.